I can still feel the spotlight's glare on my sweaty palms. I'm here because they mocked me for being broke. I watched the opposing counsel smirk as they revealed my meager bank balance. How do you plead? The judge asked, voice distant. I froze. I couldn't breathe. Someone they dismissed as a failure, was expected to answer for crimes my ex-business partner committed. And all because I didn't have the money to defend myself. I glanced toward the gallery, where my 10-year-old daughter clutched her mother's hand, wide-eyed. Daddy, what's happening? I felt my heart crack. And then, like a thunderclap across this stale courtroom, my godfather strode to the front row. His calloused hand held a crisp envelope. He looked at the judge, then at me, and finally tore it open. I watched in disbelief as numbers that spoke of millions, spread across the page. And suddenly, everyone was silent. What they never expected was that the truth would arrive in the form of a bank statement. What happens next? I remember the morning light filtering through our small kitchen window. I sipped my lukewarm coffee, hands still trembling from yesterday's court summons. I am Ravi Kapoor, 35, single father, and legal assistant at a modest family law firm. I am also the man they now call bankrupt. I woke every day before dawn. I dropped my daughter, Anaya, at school, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders, her wide grin always the same. I returned to my tiny apartment, the walls lined with photo frames, Anaya's first steps, my graduation day, my godfather's beaming smile at my wedding that never happened. I filed paperwork, drafted pleadings, and fought for clients who couldn't afford hefty fees. I believed in justice and fairness. Then, I fell in love with Jessica, a marketing executive at a startup. I was smitten by her laugh, intoxicating like old wine. We shared dinners on my threadbare couch, her perfume mixing with the aroma of my instant noodles. I introduced her to Anaya, and for a while, we were a family. And then, the startup imploded. Jessica lost her job. I covered rent, groceries, her credit card bills. I watched her pride wilt like a flower without water. She became distant. I chalked it up to stress. I worked late nights, reading case law by dim desk lamp, fingers stained with ink. I juggled client meetings, school recitals, and my roiling anxiety about bills. I thought I was doing fine. Then, I met my ex-business partner, Deepak. He pitched a small venture, contract drafting software for lawyers. He said he'd handle the tech. I'd manage sales. I believed him. I invested my savings, 15,000 rupees, and put my name on the lease for a cramped office in Sadar. I remember the glint of hope in Deepak's eyes when I handed him that check. This is just the beginning, he whispered. We'll change the legal world. I felt electric. My big break. My chance to build something for Anaya's future. Then, the cracks appeared. The software had glitches. Clients complained. I spent nights coaxing code fixes from Deepak, pacing my living room in circles. My hands shook as I called anxious investors. And then, Jessica told me she was pregnant. My heart thundered. I saw our child in my mind's eye, laughed, cried, planned. I doubled down on the startup, believing we could weather the storm. I juggled 3 roles: father, fiancé, business co-founder. My eyes burned with exhaustion. Anaya asked, Daddy, why are you so tired? I forced a smile. Because I want to give you the best life, I lied. Then, the nightmare unfolded. Deepak vanished with our funds. He left emails unread, calls unanswered. Our small team disbanded. Investors demanded refunds. The lease went unpaid. My bank balance, once modestly healthy, dropped into the red. I sat on my apartment floor, head in hands, the harsh fluorescent bulb masking Anaya's drawing of our family taped to the wall. How did I let this happen? I whispered, voice hoarse. What will we do? I found myself defending a theft charge. Instead of client integrity, I was accused of embezzlement. My heart pounded as I stood in this same courtroom, waiting for the bailiff to call my name. They think I stole from everyone, I thought. How do I prove I'm the victim? And then, I remembered my godfather, Mr. Arjun Malhotra, the man who raised me after my parents died. He believed in integrity above all. He taught me that money is only paper unless backed by trust. I dared to hope he would stand by me. I sent him an email. I need help. Deepak betrayed us. I pressed send, stomach twisting. Then, I waited. I walked the courthouse halls, feet echoing on dusty tile, clutching my thin case file. My palms were clammy. My throat, parched. Every passerby seemed to whisper, there goes the broke legal assistant who thought he could play with the big boys. I settled into the waiting room. I watched the ex-business partner's lawyer glide past, briefcase in hand, polished shoes clicking like jackboots. I felt small, invisible, and then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Meet me outside, row 4. My knees buckled. Could it be him? I dared to glance at the courthouse clock. 9:15 a.m., July 11th, 2025. The moment I thought my world would shatter or ignite. I took a breath and rose. I adjusted my tie, wrinkled from sleepless nights. I smoothed my jacket. I squared my shoulders. I was ready to face whatever, or whoever, waited outside. I gripped the courthouse railing as I stepped outside, my breath fogging in the dawn air. I scanned the crowd. I saw a tall figure by the stone pillars, my godfather, Arjun Malhotra, in his charcoal suit, tie loosened. He came, I thought, relief and dread coiling in my chest. I approached him, voice barely a whisper. Sir. He offered me a steady hand. I'm here, Ravi. I felt tears sting my eyes. Don't cry. Not here. I swallowed. Then, we re-entered together. The courtroom doors swung shut with a final thud. I scanned the packed benches, my mother's portrait on my desk, my daughter's school friends whispering about my big trial. Their eyes flicked to me, some pity, some judgment. The bailiff called my case. I stood. My legs trembled. I clutched the thin file. I was a man unarmed, with nothing but truth. I watched the prosecution's opening like a storm gathering. The prosecutor, Ms. Sharma, spoke of missing funds, breach of trust, painting me as a schemer. She clicked through slides. My bank statements, drained to zero, emails to Deepak pleading for money. She said, Mr. Kapoor's story doesn't add up. Her words cut through me like shards of glass. I could feel my pulse in my temples. I never touched a rupee. But how could I prove it when the record showed otherwise? And then, the defense table beside me remained empty. My public defender, Mr. Youssef, was caught in traffic. I watched the judge's gavel raise. Please, let him arrive. The selling fan creaked above, a mocking metronome counting down my fate. Then, the courtroom door flew open. My defender rushed in, suit rumpled, breath ragged. He gave me a quick nod and flipped through my file. I exhaled, knees straightening. Mr. Youssef rose to his feet. Your Honor, may I approach? He strode toward the bench. I felt the judge's stare, like a spotlight on my guilt. The defense began digging. Deepak's IP address traced overseas. Bank transfers redirected through shell accounts. I felt hope flicker. But then, each revelation spawned new doubts. If this is true, why didn't my godfather intervene sooner? I wondered, anxiety coiling tighter. Then, I noticed my godfather's hand slip from his lapel, pressing a small envelope against his thigh. My pulse spiked. What is that? My eyes met his. He nodded imperceptibly. And then, I realized, he had gone into his own pockets for evidence. The judge called recess. I sank into my chair. My heart pounded. I closed my eyes and felt the courtroom tilting. I can't faint. Not now. I inhaled, the leather seat smelling of polished oak and old paper. During recess, I approached my godfather. What did you bring? He offered the envelope. Proof. I opened it to find a letter from Deepak's former assistant, detailing forged signatures and fund diversions. The handwriting trembled, fear scratched into every line. This is it. I clutched the page. Then, I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was the prosecutor. Her eyes narrowed. Careful, Mr. Kapoor, she whispered. I'll be watching. Her tone was promise and threat. I retreated, heart pounding. I copied the letter, my fingers burning against the paper. I tucked it into my file. This will turn the tide. But doubt whispered, is it enough? Back in session, the air felt heavier. The gallery leaned forward, hushed descending like a blanket. The prosecutor went for the kill. She asked me to explain the missing signature on our lease, the late payments. Each question felt like a blow, knocking the wind out of me. And then, my godfather stood. The courtroom hushed further. He approached the bench, voice calm but firm. Your Honor, I submit this letter and accompanying bank documents that prove Mr. Kapoor's innocence. He handed the envelope to the clerk. The judge raised an eyebrow and accepted it. My heart rattled like a loose gear. Please open it. The judge scanned the documents. My godfather's bank statements, clear transfers matching every missing rupee, lay before him. Then the assistant's letter laid bare Deepak's betrayal. Silence settled. The prosecutor's mouth twitched. She can't argue with this. I felt tears pool in my eyes again. I'm not alone. Someone believed in me. Then, The judge looked at me over the rim of his glasses. Mr. Kapoor, is this your handwriting on the assistant's affidavit? I nodded, voice quavering. Yes, Your Honor. He nodded slowly. Thank you. We will resume after a short break to verify these documents. I exhaled, trembling. My godfather returned to his seat, offering me a small, proud smile. My chest ached with relief and lingering fear. And then, as I sank back, I realized the stakes had shifted. The power had returned to me. The question was no longer, can I prove my innocence? But will justice be served? What happens when the truth faces the final verdict? I walked back into the courtroom, shoulders stiff as steel, heart hammering like a war drum. I could still taste the adrenaline on my tongue. I sat, hands clasped, waiting for the judge to speak. The hush pressed in, as if the very walls had stopped breathing. I watched the judge's lips part. Court is in recess, he said, voice distant. He banged the gavel. Papers fluttered. Chairs scraped. I felt the weight of every gaze in the room, some skeptical, some sympathetic. Am I beyond the brink now? I rose and slipped into the hallway. My legs trembled, weak as wet noodles. I leaned against the cool marble, closing my eyes. This is it, I thought. My moment of reckoning. My breath came in ragged bursts. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, echoing the buzzing in my skull. Then, Anaya's voice echoed in my mind. Daddy, are you okay? I pictured her small face, wet curls plastered to her forehead. I can't let her down. I inhaled and straightened. I returned and took my seat. The judge re-entered, eyes stern. He pored over the documents my godfather provided, flipping pages methodically. Each rustle tightened something in my chest. The prosecutor stood, shoulders squared. She seized the assistant's affidavit, scrutinizing every word. My pulse throbbed in my throat. Is she finding a flaw? I prayed to every god I'd ever doubted. Then she looked up, eyes cool. No objections, Your Honor, she said. Her voice rang hollow. Relief washed over me. But the crisis clawed at my mind. What if the judge still rules against me? My defense attorney rose. His voice trembled on the first words. Your Honor, the evidence clearly exonerates Mr. Kapoor. We respectfully request dismissal of all charges. He laid out timelines, bank statements, the affidavit, each piece a nail in the coffin of the prosecution's case. I felt my throat constrict. My hands trembled on the table. Please let this end. And then, the judge cleared his throat. The room fell silent again. He tapped his gavel. I have reviewed all materials. The court finds insufficient evidence to proceed with the charges against Mr. Kapoor. His words struck like a hammer. I'm free. Tears blurred my vision. But then, a sharp rap on the defense table made me flinch. The prosecutor called out, Your Honor, may I speak? The judge hesitated, then nodded curtly. My heart lurched. No, not again. She took a step forward, voice low. Your Honor, we request a review of Mr. Malhotra's bank records for any irregularities. We believe further scrutiny is warranted given the sudden appearance of these documents. The courtroom buzzed. I felt like the ground had shifted under me. My godfather's face went pale. I watched him press his lips together, fist trembling. He vouches everything is clean. The judge frowned. He lifted his glasses. This can't be happening. Crush of dread pressed down. And then, the judge spoke, voice heavy. Very well. Court will reconvene tomorrow at 10 a.m. to review additional records. He banged his gavel. Court is adjourned. Papers rustled. Chairs scraped. I sank back in my chair, stunned. How will we survive another day? My mind raced. Anaya needs her father. Jessica, no. Jessica isn't here. It's just us now. Just me. I inhaled, tasting metal. I can't fall apart. I rose as the room emptied. My defense attorney caught my arm. Mr. Kapoor, don't lose hope. We'll get through this. His words felt distant, like someone else's life. I stepped into the hallway. The world felt surreal, voices echoing, footsteps pounding. I hurried outside for air. The heat of July slapped my face. The city hummed around me. Cars honked. People rushed by, unaware of the earthquake inside me. I pulled out the Godfather's bank statement envelope, safe in my jacket pocket. I stared at it like it was holy scripture. Tomorrow, we face it again. Then, my phone buzzed. I opened the message, meet me at the cafe on Bahadurabad Road. 7 p.m. No name. My heart lurched. Who now? I looked at the sky, dusk settling, streetlights flickering. The world felt poised on a knife's edge. One wrong step, and it all collapses. My knees shook. I tucked the envelope deeper and walked away. I'll fight for tomorrow. I have to. What will I discover at that cafe? I arrived at the Bahadurabad Cafe just as the neon sign buzzed to life. I was an hour early, but my nerves were already frayed, my pulse thumping like a war drum. I slid into a corner booth, back to the wall, and watched the door. The air smelled of cardamom chai and frying samosas. I rubbed my temples, tasting the metallic tang of fear. I thought of Anaya, curled up on our lumpy couch. "Daddy, be careful." Her words echoed, fueling my resolve. I unfolded the crumpled note. No signature, no clue, just time and place. Who's pulling these strings? I studied every patron, every flicker of movement. Then, a woman approached. Satin dupatta, sharp eyes, and a lawyer's keen gait. She slid into the booth opposite me without a word. Her lips curved, half sympathy, half knowing. "Mr. Kapoor," she said softly, voice low. "I'm Advocate Latif. I represent Deepak's assistant." My heart seized. "You're the one who wrote the letter?" My voice cracked. She nodded. "Yes. I came because there's more." She pulled a slim folder from her purse and set it before me. I watched as her fingers lingered on the embossed scales of justice. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside were video files, surveillance footage from our former office building. I clicked the first clip on my phone. A shadowed figure dragging heavy boxes at midnight. Neither me nor my assistant, but Deepak in a hoodie, carrying ledgers. Next clip. A digital forensics report showing Deepak used my login credentials to transfer funds to offshore accounts. Each frame was a blow, each timestamp a nail sealing my ex-partner's guilt. My breath caught. This is irrefutable. I looked up at Advocate Latif. "Where did you get this?" She leaned in, voice hushed. "He wanted to keep it hidden. He slipped up on tape the night he forged the signatures." She tapped the video thumbnail. "Your Godfather's statement was powerful, but this destroys any doubt." Then, she slid over another envelope. "And this." My fingers opened it to reveal a sworn affidavit from a bank officer in Dubai, confirming the wire transfers and account ownership. My breath hitched. Evidence stacked higher than any gavel could override. I closed my eyes, head spinning. I'm vindicated. But the edge of panic remained. Will the judge accept it in time? My mind raced through courtroom scenarios, objections, delays, bureaucratic hurdles. Then, Advocate Latif placed a reassuring hand on mine. "I can file these immediately. We'll demand an emergency hearing." Relief and gratitude flooded me. My chest loosened, and I felt tears burn behind my eyelids. I stood, voice steady though my knees wobbled. "Thank you. I don't know how to repay you." She smiled. "Just tell the court the truth. That's enough." I left the cafe with the folder pressed to my chest like a shield. The city lights blurred as I hailed a rickshaw. Tomorrow, I hold the final proof. Anxiety tangled with hope. This ends it. The next morning, I returned to the courtroom, documents in hand, resolve in my heart. The gallery filled, whispers rippling through the benches. I took my place, meeting my daughter's mother with a nod. She gave me a small, tense smile. The judge entered, and the prosecutor frowned at the new files. My defense attorney stood swiftly. "Your Honor, we request immediate inclusion of newly discovered evidence, video surveillance, and an international bank affidavit proving Mr. Deepak's unauthorized transfers." The prosecutor rose, eyes narrowing. "Your Honor, this is highly irregular." Then, the judge held up his hand. "I will review." His gavel sounded. The clerk passed each exhibit to the bench. I watched the prosecutor's shoulders sag as she recognized the weight of our proof. My heart thundered as the judge studied the footage frames projected behind him, each timestamp unfolding Deepak's duplicity. The prosecutor fell silent. No counterpoint could pierce the clarity of video evidence and sworn testimony. Then, the judge looked at me. His gaze was softer now, but still solemn. "Mr. Kapoor, it seems you have been wrongfully accused. The court hereby dismisses all charges." His gavel cracked the air like thunder, and relief washed over me in a tidal wave. I sank into my chair as tears streamed down my face. My godfather's proud eyes met mine from the front row. My assistant turned while I sat back, face serene. And in the gallery, Anaya's tiny hand waved shyly. "Daddy, you did it." I whispered to myself, voice raw. Justice isn't blind. Sometimes it just takes courage to lift the veil. What will tomorrow bring? I let the question hang, savoring the justice earned through truth and faith. I sat frozen as the judge's gavel thundered, stamping the dismissal into the record. I heard the echo long after the room had fallen silent. I felt my chest tighten, then unclench, as though I'd been holding my breath for months. I leaned forward, trembling, my knuckles white against the polished oak desk. I watched my defense attorney exhale a breath he'd been holding, his shoulders sagging with relief. I swallowed hard, tasting tears on my tongue. I'm free. The judge's robe swished as he stood. Mr. Kapoor, he said, voice echoing in the hushed chamber, the court finds you not guilty of all charges. You are released from all obligations in this case. I nodded, voice stuck. Thank you. Then, the prosecutor rose, bowed her head, and quietly gathered her papers. I met her eyes for a moment, no triumph, no gloating, just the resignation of someone defeated by truth. I felt a pang of empathy. Even she is human. I rose, legs shaky as saplings in a storm. I gripped the edge of the table, steadying myself. The courtroom doors swung open, sunlight pouring in like a benediction. I felt its warmth on my face and let out a long, shaky breath. I stepped down from the stand, each footfall echoing on the marble floor. I scanned the gallery. My daughter's mother wiped tears from her cheeks. My godfather rose, his eyes bright with pride. The clerk gave me a small, respectful nod. I realized every pair of eyes in that room had witnessed my fall and rise. Then, I saw Anaya's tiny form break through the crowd. She ran to me, dress spinning, and threw her arms around my legs. I knelt, arms opening, and hugged her so tight I felt my ribs crack with relief. Her hair tickled my chin, and I smelled the mix of jasmine shampoo and crayons. I missed you, Daddy, she whispered into my chest. Her voice was small, but I felt it thunder through my heart. I held her close, rocking gently. I'm here. I'm here. My godfather approached, his hand on my shoulder. His presence was solid, a fortress in human form. You did it, he said quietly. His voice carried the weight of every sacrifice he'd made. I looked up at him, tears streaking my face. I couldn't have without you, I choked out. He shook his head. You had the courage. I just gave you the tools. I stood, and he guided me toward the exit. The murmurs of the relieved crowd followed us like a tide. I imagined I could hear the shuffle of papers, the soft click of heels, the distant murmur of relief. Then, we emerged into the courtyard. The afternoon sun blazed overhead, casting sharp shadows on the stone pillars. I closed my eyes, lifted my face to the sky, and let the brightness fill me. A breeze stirred Anaya's curls, and I felt wind against my cheek, life moving forward. I thought of the months of dread, the nights I lay awake listening to the fans hum, wondering if this was the end of everything I'd built. But now the judge's ruling was carved in stone. I was vindicated. I took Anaya's hand and walked across the courtyard's mosaic floor. Each step was a declaration. I am here. I am free. I am whole again. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I glanced down to see a message from Advocate Latif. Well done. Court documents will be available shortly. I tucked the phone away. I don't need proof in pixels anymore. I turned to my daughter. She looked up at me, eyes bright. Can we go get ice cream? She asked. I laughed, throat tight with joy. Anything you want. I scooped her up, spinning until her laughter rang like bells. I felt my godfather watching, a gentle smile on his lips. Then, as we walked toward the courthouse gates, I paused and looked back at the building that almost destroyed me. Its stone walls had loomed like a prison, and now they stood silent witness to my vindication. What comes next? I asked myself. How do I move on from this? I learned that truth doesn't wait for permission. I learned that justice can hide behind paper and numbers until someone brave enough lifts the veil. I learned that a single ally can change the course of a fight, one envelope, one affidavit, one unwavering vow to stand by me. I know now that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. I know that when your back is against the wall, it doesn't matter how loud the world is. It only matters how loud your heart beats for what's right. I want you to remember this. When you feel powerless, look for the allies you've always had. When doubt whispers that you're alone, listen for the footsteps of those who believe in you. And when the world counts you out, answer with evidence, proof of your character, your resilience, your truth. I promise you, the weight of injustice can be lifted, not by luck, but by persistence. Not by silence, but by speaking up. Not by hiding, but by revealing every hidden ledger, every secret tape, every silent witness in the shadows. If this story moved you, if you've ever felt unheard or underestimated, share your thoughts below. Tell me your own battles, your hidden truths, your fires lit in the dark. Like this video if you believe courage can outshine fear. Subscribe for more confessions from the courtroom and stories of redemption. Hit the bell so you never miss when justice speaks its loudest. I'm Ravi Kapoor, and I'm living proof that they can mock you for being broke until the bank statement shows who you really are. Thank you for listening.